Leonardo for being so generous. We've been joined by
Thank you, Chairman. And sorry for asking for the floor once again on this matter. Once again, we would like to congratulate you for your nominations as Chairman and as President of this conference. We've been listening to the debate taking place and drawing on the working papers and our own discussion. It seems that we need more guidance on certain matters where there needs to be more analysis and there needs to be more examination in depth by the Secretariat of this question of GASOS. Some concerns have been expressed about the programme and how this should be presented to the Assembly. It seems that the Secretariat has taken note of all of this, and this can be reflected in a recommendation from this conference. And also before lunch, I listened to what AXA said. AXA mentioned that they were part of this first pilot project, and this was a successful pilot project to get the correct political will so that these systems can be adjusted accordingly so that they can respond correctly and fulfill their civil aviation safety oversight responsibilities, and so that there can be compliance in the member states with all of this. We need to bear that in mind, what's been said by AXA. We also have to realize that this is not just a blank check that's going to be sent directly to the Assembly from this conference. There's the Council as well. And no doubt the Council will review what the Secretariat will drop in terms of the concerns and the discussions and the additional guidance. And then this will be put for the consideration of the Assembly. So this comes back to what Mexico said, namely that this should be put up for consideration by the Assembly. I think we could say for the consideration and decision to be taken by the Assembly, because it's the sovereign body that's going to decide on the future of this programme. The Assembly can evaluate it and validate it or cancel it. But I think we don't need to worry about the result. The Assembly is going to examine what the Secretariat will have done before this is actually put forward for consideration in the Assembly itself. Thank you.
Thank you, Mexico. I now invite Mali to take the floor.
Good afternoon to everyone. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for giving Mali the floor. We thank ICAO for its initiative, which is extremely worthwhile on the basis of GASOS implementation. Nevertheless, we have certain reservations regarding the maturity of the project, GASOS, to the point that we would like to present it regarding presentation of it to the Assembly. This is why we support and will continue to support working papers 224 by AFCAC, 124 from the United States, and 78 from Australia, etc. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mali. Algeria, you have the floor.
Merci, monsieur.
Thank you, sir. Algeria supports the concept of GASOS, although we take into account the concerns of 224, the working paper from AFCAC, which was presented by South Africa. Algeria strongly supports this paper. Thank you.
Thank you, Algeria. And I'll call on EASA to make the intervention. EASA.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the European Aviation Safety Agency, I would like to wholeheartedly support the position of our sister organization, AXA, expressed shortly before the lunch break. We see GASOS as the way to support and better recognize the regional safety oversight organizations in the system of ICAO. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, EASA. Kata, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Qatar supports the GASOS concept and ICAO efforts in developing appropriate arrangement. GASOS aims to enhance the effectiveness and efficiency of safety oversight monitoring activities and avoid a duplication of activities between GASOS and USOAP CMA. However, the GASOS study group should continue to be utilized with an expanded membership to ensure access to expertise needed to mature the program. Qatar would like also to support working paper number 124 presented by United States and the comments made by United Kingdom and Singapore. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Qatar. Saudi Arabia, you have the floor.
Shukran, Sayyid Rais.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for giving us the opportunity to take the floor on the behalf of the Saudi Arabia delegation. Saudi Arabia supports the working paper number 124 presented by the United States, while confirming our wish to receive clarifications regarding the legal and legislative aspects regarding operations, organizational aspects relating to the GASOS system. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Saudi Arabia. It's now the turn of Poland to take the floor. Poland.
After the break, Mr. Chairman, Poland would like to support the working paper 17 regarding the GASOS. There are three main reasons for that. First of all, taking part in this initiative is totally on a voluntary basis. Second of all, the proposal focuses only on state CAAs and RSOO. And thirdly, there is no intention of involvement of the commercial providers in this initiative. Therefore, we believe we shouldn't hold back the ICAO Secretariat initiative, and we should present it for the endorsement at the 40th General Assembly. Thank you.
Thank you, Poland. Uganda, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair, for giving us the floor, and good afternoon, everyone. I would also like, since this is the first time Uganda is taking the floor, to thank you for the way you are conducting the meeting. Uganda supports continuing the development of GASOS concept, including the associated studies. I'm avoiding to go into details because I think you don't have much time for this. We agree that the concept can make good contribution in strengthening safety oversight capacity of states and even regional safety oversight organizations. However, the concerns highlighted in working papers, especially 224 by African states, 124 by USA, and 78 by Australia, Singapore, and New Zealand, should be addressed before seeking endorsement of the Assembly. And the reason is to avoid confusion. At the Assembly, unless these issues have been addressed, you'll have exactly the same conversation like we are having. And therefore, we strongly believe that it is better to mature the system before seeking its endorsement. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Uganda. Panama, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chairman. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the work that you've been doing in the main group, in the main panel. We support what's been said by AXA in Mexico and also by Uganda. Thank you.
Thanks, Panama. Council, it's your turn.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good afternoon, all. As stated in this paper, well, first of all, Council fully supports Working Paper 24 as presented by the United States. As stated in this paper, Council supports the need to assist states in improving and strengthening their safety oversight responsibilities and acknowledges the challenges global aviation safety oversight system seeks to address, as well as the potential benefits that may be possible under the proposed GASOS model. However, as stated in this paper, there are concerns that should be open for further discussions. The GASOS study group should continue to work with the Secretariat to address the political, administrative, legal, and safety-related aspects and ensure the outcomes are acceptable to states before the program is fully adopted, and this work should include an analysis of the existing and accepted resources available for safety oversight as part of this work. It should be aligned with existing and proposed programs with similar purposes, as well as other resources already available to states and regional safety oversight organizations. The work of the GASOS study group should continue, and Council is more than prepared to share its expertise on that group. With respect to Working Paper 224, Council fully supports Working Paper 224 presented by South Africa on behalf of the 54 AFCAT states. Council believes that adoption of the GASOS principle is immature at this point, as more work still needs to be accomplished to ensure that GASOS overall objectives are met without necessarily commercializing safety oversight and thereby undermining the established RSOs. Thank you.
Thank you, Council. I now invite Thailand to take the floor. Press the microphone button.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thailand recognizes the importance of the GASOS and would very much like to support working paper number 17 by the Secretariat and also the working paper number 78 by Australia, New Zealand, and Singapore regarding the concept of the GASOS and propose future work to support the progression of the GASOS, which will deliver benefits to enhance and strengthen the regional and state safety oversight capability. So we strongly support the mentioned working papers. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Thailand. Turkey, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, everyone. Turkey supports the comments of AXA, Canada, and Georgia. Thank you.
Thank you, Turkey. It's the turn of Guinea to take the floor. Guinea.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, everybody. I would like to say that the GASOS issue is very important to all of our aeronautical aviation community throughout the world. Nonetheless, Guinea takes into account the recommendations in Working Paper 78 presented by Australia, New Zealand, and Singapore, and also Working Paper 124 by the United States, and resolutely supports the position of AFCAC. In fact, you know that we met in Swaziland. The position developed there is well known. Senegal, Niger, and other countries that are here have explained the reservations that we have regarding the decision that we want to propose before the Assembly. There are a number of issues that need to be resolved because commercialization of oversight, safety oversight, must be studied better in order to take into account all of the legal, political, administrative aspects, considering that this touches upon sovereignty. And that is why I think it would be wiser to choose the path of working paper 224 from AFCAC. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Guinea. I'll now call on Ukraine to take the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning or good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to support the working paper 17 and also the intervention of Georgia and ACSA, and suggest to further elaborate the GASOS for the presentation on the next assembly session of ICAO. Thank you.
Thank you, Ukraine. Zambia, you have the floor.
Chair, Zambia actually also supports the working paper number 17 by the Secretariat, and working paper number 124 by the United States, and strongly supports the working paper number 224. We also endorse the interventions made by Australia and New Zealand together with Council. Thank you.
Thank you, Zambia. I have one last request from Finland.
So,
Finland.
Good afternoon. And on behalf of Finland, I like to express our support for working paper 17, and I am very much in favor for the comment made by Poland. And furthermore, we like to encourage ICAO for the further enhancement and recognition of regional safety oversight organization concept, and not only on GASOS but in all ICAO activities. That is based on our experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Finland. Before IAC takes the floor, I'll invite Indonesia. It looks like their system is still not working well. Indonesia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning, good afternoon to all delegates. Indonesia, thanks to ICAO for initiative to prepare GASOS concept. Actually, GASOS is a good concept, which the main objective is to strengthen state safety oversight and safety management capabilities. However, the original concept may be improved by considering recommendation from some states in this conference. And in this session, we concur and support the 6 recommendation from working paper 78 presented by Australia and co-sponsored by New Zealand and Singapore. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Indonesia. We now have the IAC and Cabo Verde. IAC, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. We fully support working paper 17 and would like to return to the essence of the GASOS proposal. The essence of the proposals are to give the states the opportunity to ensure the necessary level of oversight. GASOS is an instrument. We are talking about an initiative called No Country Left Behind, and in that case, that is an initiative that says that GASOS is an instrument of implementation. I think that certain countries are trying to put the task on ICAO of developing the full standards documentation for their cooperation on the basis of regional cooperation. GASOS and regional organizations are voluntary things if the state is able to provide for safety oversight. Then no one is going to force anyone to be involved in regional organizations. The states have to understand that GASOS and regional safety organizations, oversight organizations, are an instrument to implement the standards. And it's up to you how that's going to be used. But to put that task upon ICAO, I think is not the right thing to do. ICAO gives the capability, the opportunity to all of the states to do the work. In Working Paper 124, the United States say quite correctly that if the states don't have the resources right now, or the political will for that matter, then it isn't clear whether or not it will have the political will under GASOS. And that is absolutely correct, absolutely fair. Here we're not talking about how developed or well-written the GASOS instrument is, but it's about political will, and that's in the hands of the states and how they are able to agree on collaboration, and implementation will depend on that will to collaborate. GASOS is simply an instrument. Thank you.
Thank you, IAC. Cabo Verde, will you still want to take the floor? Okay, Cabo Verde, you have the floor.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Chairman. Cabo Verde Republic would also like to support the other member states and organizations who have supported the working papers, namely 78 that was sponsored by Australia, New Zealand, and Singapore, and WP 124 by the US, and 224 presented by AFCAC on behalf of the 54 African states, namely that ICAO needs to continue to promote and reinforce the RSOOs and help states to consolidate their national oversight systems. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Cabo Verde. That's a rather long discussion, but it was worth it, yeah, because we were able to get various views on the program. I want to give the floor to the Secretariat for any clarifications, on the issue. Secretariat, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There has been a lot of interventions, and I think we can summarize the intervention in two fields. One is the general concern of the inclusion of commercial providers, which are, I won't say they are not part of GASOS as presented. They are not in the scope. That's the first clarification that I would like to make from the Secretariat. The second one is the three main areas of concern that are being going through different working papers, which are the legal aspects and the legal liability, the governance, and the cost-benefit aspects in general. And for all of them, the Secretariat, even before this conference, are being actively working in resolving these issues. We are not looking for the endorsement today. We are continue working on this, and it's expected that these issues will be resolved before it's going to be presented for the next assembly. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Secretariat. I think we will attempt to summarize a rather lengthy discussion. Yeah. So I want to thank all the states and international organizations for a very healthy debate on the issue. What I realized from all contributors was that the GASOS will be beneficial to states, except there were issues, there were challenges, there were concerns which have to be addressed. And Secretariat has acknowledged that in their working paper. And also in the WP 17, which was also reiterated by Poland, we realized that it is voluntary and commercial entities are out. The focus is on the states and RSOOs. And we've all agreed that there's a need for us, for the GASOS study group to continue working on enhancing the GASOS. There has to be guidance material, issues relating to political will, legal, administrative, financial, governance, responsibilities, accountabilities, cost-benefit analysis will all be addressed by the GASOS study group with support from the Secretariat. There was also the concern that the composition or constitution of the study group may not be all encompassing. So I believe Secretariat will look at the possibility of opening it up to include experts from all ICAO regions. And we all agree that the benefits of GASOS are enormous. It will help states improve their safety oversight capabilities. So based on these discussions, I wish to summarize as follows. There is a need for ICAO to continue developing the global aviation safety oversight system, GASOS, to strengthen safety oversight and safety management capabilities of states through delegation of safety oversight functions to competent safety oversight organizations, SOOs. The Committee B acknowledged the concerns expressed regarding the scope of GASOS, especially in the use of private entities and the legal governance and financial challenges that this new program will face, and requires ICAO to work on resolving such issues. There's also the need for ICAO to design the necessary interfaces between GASOS and other programs in ICAO to avoid duplication of activities. There's a need for ICAO to develop guidance material for states to support the delegation of safety functions and monitor safety oversight organizations accepting delegations. The committee also encourages regional safety oversight organizations and other SOOs to participate in the GASOS assessment pilot projects. And I wish to congratulate Canada for taking part in the initial assessment program. We are grateful to you, Canada. Finally, the committee requests ICAO to present GASOS for endorsement at the 40th session of the Assembly through the Air Navigation Commission and the ICAO Council, taking into account the challenges and various concerns raised during the discussions. So I think this is a good summary of all the issues we've discussed. There's a need for further work, hard work, expedited work, I would say, by the GASOS study group and the Secretariat. We still have about a year away, and at this meeting, we are not seeking endorsement. It will be at the Assembly. So thank you very much for your great contributions. So that brings us to the end of item 6.1.3. I see one person. Is it South Africa? South Africa. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Your summary was excellent until the last sentence. Because the last sentence has got the word endorse. And that's where we raised a question. Even Spain put it even nicely to say maybe as an information to the Assembly. The word endorse, s'il vous plaît, take it out. We are not ready. So whatever form it can take, the word endorsement should be removed. Thank you.
Okay, let's put it this way. We can agree that we'll present at the Assembly through the ANC and the Council. The reason is, you know, what the recommendation from this meeting will be further considered by both the ANC and Council in line with the normal working procedures here, as most of you are familiar. So if you look at the final conclusion, it was conditional, as a taking into account the various challenges and concerns raised during this debate. So what will happen is, from my experience working in the Council and in the ANC, if by the time of the Assembly, the Secretariat considers, or through the ANC and the Council, consider that the GASOS concept or the GASOS program is still not mature, it may then be presented for information, you know. But if we have 11 months to finalize, if all these concerns are addressed, what stops us from presenting for endorsement? We should not lose the momentum, as one of the states said. It is important that we proceed with this very, very important program. So we could say, finally, the committee requests ICAO to present the GASOS through the Air Navigation Commission and the ICAO Council at the 40th session of the Assembly, taking into consideration the challenges and concerns raised. South Africa, I hope that addresses your concerns. Senegal and South Africa. Senegal first.
Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm not fully at ease with your conclusion. I think that the summary of the debate shows that this subject is not totally mature yet. That is why I think that we should reach a conclusion of something that's not yet mature. We're getting prepared for the next council. So I think that this question should be brought to the attention of the council for their information. At this stage, it's not mature enough, and there's lots of grey zones and concerns. You've said that yourself, Chairman. There's the legal aspects, implementation aspects as well. All of this is not yet clarified. The study group has to continue to work on all of this. So in the light of your summary, we should say that this question should be put to the Council as an information note and allow the group to continue to look at all of this and go into the nitty-gritty, the details. I think that's basically what you were wanting to put across. We cannot yet take a decision on something that's not yet mature enough. Thank you.
Thank you, Senegal. I don't think we should reopen a lengthy debate on this issue, because judging from the various contributions, a majority of states, I mean, the Secretariat counted about 80 states who wanted it to be presented at the Secretariat at the ICAO Assembly, the 40th Assembly, for endorsement. And a number of states feel it should not be presented for endorsement, but rather for information. A few states felt it shouldn't be submitted at all. But let's look at the benefits of the GASOS. I tell you, there are a lot. If you look at the level of effective implementation of several states, some are 30, 35%, and you go into the state, they don't have the resources, they don't have the capabilities. And this program will help quickly, address some of these weaknesses in the states, because then they will delegate responsibilities to the safety oversight organization, we need to look at the benefits. So we are in October 2018, and we're talking about assembly taking place in 2019 September. Why don't we have this optimistic approach, look at the challenges and concerns raised, work towards them, and it does not go straight to the assembly. It goes through an internal review process within ICAO. The Air Navigation Commission will look at it. The ICAO Council will look at it before, it's finally adopted or endorsed at the Council. So if by the time of the assembly, the Council or the ANC considers it not mature, definitely it will not be presented for endorsement. But let's be optimistic and make that recommendation that it should be presented to the 40th Assembly, for endorsement. And again, this is conditional, taking into account the need to address all the concerns and challenges raised before the Assembly. So it's a conditional conclusion, and I hope that settles it. Thank you very much. I'll give the floor to Sudan.
شكرا سيد الرئيس.
Thank you, Chairman. Sudan supports South Africa and Senegal's position for the following reasons. When this question was presented to us for the first time, we presumed that there was going to be a meeting every 5 years and then decide on the safety guidelines on air navigation. So why are we now in such a rush? As the Secretariat, and we'd like to thank them for doing this, they've applied many efforts into preparing this working paper, but in spite of these efforts, we have not been fully convinced about this, so we cannot be rushed. This question will take more patience, and we need to look at it in a more detailed way. In our previous comments, we explained why we've adopted this position, and the working paper from the Secretary, which is excellent, nevertheless did not convince us that there was no other option, and that this is the sole way forward. We think it's better to be cautious, patient, and take a step-by-step approach. We need to bear in mind the positions expressed by many member states. We cannot be rushed ahead. That would be working against our aviation safety objectives. Thank you.
Thank you, Sudan. I'll invite South Africa to take the floor again.
Thank you, Chair. In your summary, you mentioned if, I don't know how many times. Now, on working paper 17D, 41D, do you think we can apply the word if? Because the cake is still in the oven. We can't eat it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. It's not the word if. If you wish, you can say, request ICAO to present GASOS for endorsement at the 40th session of the Assembly. I'm looking at the 41D, taking into account the need to address the challenges and concerns raised, and that addresses your concern. Thank you. Few more requests for the floor. We have Guinea, Australia, Nigeria, Uganda, South Africa, Senegal, and then we'll try to conclude and arrive at a compromise. Yeah. If necessary, we will form a small group to look at the issue of the endorsement so that we can move faster, because this should not take the whole time.
Can I?
Yes, please.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you all for the very comprehensive discussion. It's extremely important for us to see your views and your concern. It's clear that for us, one of the main important things is to make sure that when we go out, we will have a very solid and mature system in place that will allow us as an organization, as an organization of the member states, to give back to you the added value that you are all looking for. So in this context, I think it's important to take into account not only the things that should be fixed, but also the willingness of states to go further and to advance the program. One thing that it's also important is to make sure that during this period we will work together to make sure that this program is mature enough to be presented and to be endorsed by the Assembly. And as some of our distinguished colleagues already said, the Assembly is the fora that will decide one way or another. And because of that, we need to be sure that if, once again, the program is mature, it will be used by the willing states. Keep in mind that it's a voluntary program. The region or the states that are not willing to participate are not obliged to do it. So keep in mind that this is one of the elements that should be put on the table and balanced when we are thinking how we want to advance that. If there is a majority that wants to go forward and take advantage of this system, I don't think that will be nice or correct to stop this initiative and to lose the momentum that we gather right now. It was started in Africa. We fully agree that we need to go forward. It was endorsed as a concept by all Director General meetings all over the world in 2017. And I think that we are in a moment where we start interacting and doing pilot project in order to refine the program and to make sure that at the end we will have a solid system in place, ready to be endorsed by all the states present in the Assembly. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Radu. We still have a few requests for the floor. Guinea. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chairman. Well, you realize yourself that this is a very sensitive issue, and there's a clear African position on this. The Senegal and Sudan delegations have just explained this again and talked about our concerns. We want to avoid a misinterpretation or a wrong interpretation of this. That is why AFCAC asked for this question not to be presented to the 40th ICAO Assembly, because we have not yet finished to look at all of the ins and outs and all the political and administrative and legal ramifications and so on and so forth. So it would be better to not jump ahead to a possible solution. We have to wait for the fruit to ripen accordingly.
We have Nigeria, Uganda, South Africa, Senegal, and I believe we all be in support of the AFCAC position. I don't know, but otherwise we could just, okay, let me give the floor, but make your intervention very brief. I crave your indulgence. We still have a lot to consider. Then we can summarize finally. Nigeria, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We want to reiterate our support for the recommendation made by on the AFCAC paper and also the elaborations further provided by South Africa, South Sudan, and Senegal. The program, the initiative, of course, Nigeria appreciates and supports the initiative, but
we will rather that we make haste slowly and let all states be comfortable with whatever are the various issues that we have raised variously before we present for endorsement. Thank you.
Thank you, Nigeria. Uganda, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair, and I'm so sorry to ask for the floor again. First of all, the importance of GASOS is not in question. Everybody has agreed that can make good contribution to the capacity building for safety oversight at regional and safety level. The issue is that there are so many concerns, great concerns, that are not yet resolved. And our humble suggestion is that they should be addressed before presenting for endorsement. Therefore, we could even agree with D if you put the if and say, request ICAO to present for endorsement this GASOS if the concerns expressed have been resolved. That would be a very good way of conclusion. And then the Secretariat, if they have resolved them, there is no reason why it shouldn't be presented. But in this condition, Mr. Chair, I think we will not be doing just to the Assembly. Thank you.
Thank you, Uganda. I agree with your conditionality. I'm looking for the WP 17 again. Okay, so basically you're suggesting that, you know, in 4.1, I'm looking at WP 17, under A, B, C, it talks about various issues to be undertaken, and D, you're gonna want it to be worded, request ICAO to present GASOS for endorsement at the 40th session of the Assembly if all the issues and concerns raised are addressed before the Assembly. I think that is a good compromise, you know, taking into account the views raised by several states in support of, you know, going forward with the program. So do I take it that we have a consensus now? I want, okay, South Africa wants the floor.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for Uganda, and for giving you if. And I'm going to give you India Foxrock in Delta. So if you can put India Foxrock in Delta, that's a good compromise, as Uganda has just said. For the non-aviation people, India Foxrock is if.
Well, basically you are supporting Uganda's position. Okay, thank you, South Africa, for your support. We finally have one more request, and that's from Senegal. Senegal, you have the floor.
Merci, Monsieur le
Thank you, Chairman. And I'm coming back again to say that we are in phase with ICAO. We want to reinforce the safety oversight capacities of each country. Many efforts have been made by all of the countries. I'm sure you'll agree with me on that. Each member state, of course, is aware of the fact that we need to reinforce the safety oversight capacity in each member state. And this has to be borne in mind, and there needs to be assistance given to the member states. That's why, as has been said, as the Secretary has already said, we're not wanting to hold up or stop GASOS, not at all, but rather we want it to be put on a reliable footing and make it realistic and beneficial. Those are the questions that are not yet resolved. It's a question of planning and implementation, that's all. That is why we suggest? Because you were suggesting earlier that we would be presented if. But how are we going to evaluate the ifs if we have not done of this before the Council? Who's going to evaluate the if question? Who? That is why I do not think that it should be the working group and then the ANC and then the Council. Rather, the study group has to be able to finish its work, and then it needs to be presented to the member states, and then it can be validated and we can plan for implementation. That's always how ICAO has proceeded in the past, and I think that's the approach we should take here. Once again, we are not against GASOS, quite the contrary. We just want it to be realistic and beneficial for member states. Thank you.
Thank you, Senegal. You know, you raised the issue of, I would say, trust, but I think the ANC and Council are very able, competent bodies to review the work of the study group. And like we were saying, if these issues and challenges and concerns are not addressed by the time of the Council, it will not be presented. Remember, ANC Council are made up of us, member states, 19 state experts on the ANC and 36 states on the ICAO Council. So we have entrusted them with these responsibilities on our behalf. It's part of the normal functions of the ANC and the Council to review, you know, these programs and documents. So I will end it here and thank all of you for your various contributions and views on the subject. And I'm happy we've arrived at a consensus. And I'm also happy that all of us here embrace the GASOS program. Thank you very much. So that ends it, and you need to congratulate yourselves for a very thorough deliberation on this subject. So we have time. The original program was supposed to end on the GASOS for today, but we can move forward a bit into item 6.2, which is on implementation of safety management. So what I would suggest we do is to take a short break, 5 minutes, stretch your legs, and then for those states, those representatives will have to present papers, and the agenda item 6.2, you could invite them to the chamber. So when we reconvene in about 10 minutes, we can then go straight into the working papers of agenda item 6.2 on implementation of safety management. So thank you very much. We have a 10-minute break. Thank you.